In this Flutter Flame example, we have a number of sprite components that can be dragged individually. So you could create some type of game or visual novel that move the components around. This example with the characters from the Doki Literature Club, I've just basically taken the Draggables example on the Flame Engine GitHub repository and followed it. However, as I've gotten a number of questions about how to do this, I'll walk you guys through it. Maybe it'll help you out. If you want to follow along with this tutorial, you're going to need 6 assets. There's a classroom background, which is optional. You could just play with it on a black background. We've got the sprite for Kieran. The classroom is on this itchio vision-renders.itch.io /visual-novel-classroom-pack. And then the male, Kieran, is star-anis.itch.io /Kieran. And you can also go to the itch.io site and find something that you like to work with. If you're not familiar with itch.io, they have this section here for free visual novel game assets. And there's a wealth of stuff here. It's kind of pay what you want, so it could go down to 0. For the Doki Literature Club, they have this fan site here, and the characters generally have, so if you click on it, there's this section for sprites. And then you could grab one of the sprites here that you want to work with. So like maybe this one or something. Or you could probably just type it into Google, I would imagine. And I think for learning purposes, you can probably just use one of this as long as you don't distribute. I think if you distribute, you should probably look at the license more carefully. I'm going to create a new project with Flame. So before I do that, I'm using Flutter 3 with Dart 217. The platforms is optional. If you're running it on, for example, iOS or something, or Android, you can just do Flutter create and then the name of the tutorial. So I'm going to import Flame. In the pubspec.yaml, you have to specify the directory for your assets. Since we'll just be using image assets, we'll specify as assets/images, and then we'll drop all the assets in here. So I've renamed and I've resized a few of the assets. So for example, Kieran, I made a 1:1 aspect ratio using GIMP. Was kind of long and narrow before. The classroom I did not modify, I just changed the name of it. And then for the 3 Doki Literature Club female characters, they're basically just downloaded it. It's not a 1:1 aspect ratio, but they're going to be a little bit wider. There's a slight distortion in the characters. Okay, let's go back to main.dart. So I've already imported Flame, and I should probably do Flutter pub get. Just to make sure it reads in all the images from the assets/images folder. And I've deleted most of the code here. Let's call it my game. So this Flame game is part of the Flame package, and you notice that it auto-imported flame/game.dart. This is the simplest Flame game structure right here. The run app is from Flutter, and then it takes a widget. So in this case, this game widget is from the Flame system. So the game widget requires a parameter for the game, and that is right here, this class that we're just extending the Flame game. Should be all black, which is exactly what we want. If it's all white, you may have accidentally instantiated Flame game and not the name of the class that you extended it. So I'm going to cut right to the heart of the matter, which may be actually where most people are having the problems are. So let's create a new class called character, which is going to extend the Flame, the sprite component. And the sprite component is the component that we'll need to get this graphic, one of the graphics here, onto the Flame the Flame game screen, right? So, but there's this draggable here, and I think this is actually the problem, because if you look at this, the draggable is defined both in the Flame mixins as well as the Flutter. So Flutter has this widget called draggable, right? But if we just simply hide it here, then this thing is no longer red, and it's not importing the draggable class from the material.dart. And this actually might be where most people are having problems. So in the example on the Flame GitHub repo, there's a drag delta position, which we'll be using in different methods. This is not part of the example on the GitHub repo, but I'm going to create multiple characters. So I'm going to require a position, which is a vector 2 in the Flame game system. And then I'll pass that position over into the sprite component. So the super is the sprite component, and the sprite component has position. So this is where we're going to drop the character down at. And I think I'll make it the size right here as well too. So as I mentioned, it's not in a 1-to-1 aspect ratio, but maybe just to be easy, and I'll have all the characters be 160 by 160 pixels. They're not exactly all the same size, you know, so there's a slight distortion, but I think it's okay for the purpose of this tutorial. So the way the Flame syntax normally works is you add a collision or a draggable, and then the Flame game itself, you have to tell it that there's draggables here. Initially, we're not going to drag this because I haven't enabled the checks for the motion yet, but let's start getting the characters on our screen. I've actually never played Doki Doki Literature Club. I just think the game itself is popular, and the graphics are also fairly popular, so maybe the target audience here can relate to it. So 0, the vector 2, 0 is just going to set it to 0, 0. which will be in the upper left-hand side of the screen. To actually get the character to appear on the screen, we have to first load the asset in the onload method and then set up the, or instantiate the character and then load it up onto the screen. So this onload is part of the Flame game system. I'm overriding it because I'm going to do my own customization. I'm going to run the super class of unload right at the start here, just in case we need to run these algorithms or methods here. So Natsuki, that's here on line 10, right? She has a property called sprite, and we have to load it from the local storage, right? So that's async await, and we're going to load the sprite. This load sprite's also from the Flame game system, and it's just the name of her graphic here. I'm not even sure if I have these characters named correctly. I was just referring to the wiki, the fan wiki. And to get her to appear, hopefully she'll appear if we add her. Her name is Natsuki. Okay. Did Natsuki appear? Oh, there she is. Okay, as I mentioned, she's not draggable yet. Let's get her draggable right now. What I'm going to do is just copy it from the Flame GitHub repo, right? So if you're at the Flame engine here, the main project is Flame, and under Flame there's examples. Under examples there's lib. So if you're familiar with Flutter, you can figure this out. It's under stories. And whoops. Then input. They have this nice example here, draggable. So let's just use it. Okay. See what happens if we just copy it. Maybe it'll work. So I'm going to drop into the constructor. Okay, there's some red, but okay, so parent is my game. That's the name of the parent. Then there's this drag start info, which looks like it's part of the Flame info package. So I'm using control dot. And again, the draggable example is just the name of the class. So it's this name here that you defined on line 10. And maybe it'll work. Let's see. Oh, it's working. Okay. All right, let's add more characters. So maybe we'll add Yuri. Okay, she looks kind of concerned. Let's just create it right here. I think that's her name. So this vector2 position, it's actually a 2 component. So in the first one, I had 0, 0. It's just this constant for the vector. But this time, I'm going to specify an X component and a Y component. So it's 200 pixels in from the side. And then in the onload method here, let's add her below Natsuki. There's a different sprite, so I'm also just change it right here. Load sprite, the name of her graphic, which is not, it's Yuri. Yuri underscore casual.webp. And then we add Yuri. All right. Okay, is Yuri appearing? Oh, there she is. But oh, look at that. They're both movable. Okay, let's add the rest of the girls. Maybe we'll add the guy in so that's not totally gender biased. And I actually wanted to add more male characters in for the females, but they're actually kind of hard to find. And the female character, this went to this one site, Doki Doki Literature Club Wiki, and I found all 4 characters just at one shot. So I was trying to get an even number of male and female for gender equality in our game, little demo game here, but I just simply had a harder time finding the guys. I was hoping for some type of romance theme. What's his Kirin.png? Now it's like these 4 females have to fight over this guy. So it's not terribly good unless sometimes if there's too many females, there might be bad feelings. Kind of like they all look pretty good together. Like that one too. You can see this guy with anyone. Okay. Maybe I'll add the background. Okay, I have to add it above. I'm not using priority on the layers, so the characters will appear in the order that I'm typing it. There's also this property for priority, but we're not using it right now. Okay. The second size here is actually the size of the game screen. Let's see. It's a cascade operator, which are these 2 dots. You can chain the commands together. Okay. Okay, we've got 3 of our 5 characters going, and there's a nice background image now. Let's get the other 2 people on it. Final 2. Let's see, we don't have Monica. So it's 200 pixels to the right of Yuri and right at the top of the screen. Maybe I'll put her above Kirin here. Monica. Name of the file, which is Monica. WebP, and I think that's it. We just need to add her. Monica. Okay, new one's up. Last character. Maybe I'll group the females together. Sayori. So I'll push her in 200 pixels to the right of Monica. And we'll have her right at the top of the screen. And set her sprite. And she's not added. And that's because I have her x coordinate wrong. Okay. And looks like I have the sprite wrong too. Jeez. It's not Yuri, it's Sayori. Wow. Sayori. Okay. Okay. Now 4 different characters on the top. And maybe you could, see how their story unfolds. You can set the layering part with a priority, but I don't have it set right now. So it's just in the order that it was applied. Maybe he likes this one here. I don't know. This is not a good situation for this guy. If I think you kind of want there to be equal numbers here. So if you do use this technique, I'd be curious to see what you're building with it. I'm always very curious as to what people are using Flutter and Flame for. It's kind of a lot of fun to work with it. So that's what I'm getting out of it. And I hope you're having a lot of fun too. Have a great day.